The next decade, I believe, is going to bring a collision of forces that threaten to disrupt U.S. society, sink the middle class, and call into question the political and business arrangements on which our prosperity and stability have depended for decades. These perils go far beyond the current housing-related financial crisis that's plunged us into the recession we're now in. In fact, the need to steer our way through this near-term economic challenge is masking longer-term problems that I think are far more consequential. The stakes couldn't be higher. If America doesn't decisively manage these tides of change, we'll face a backlash against our economic system, which, for all its flaws, has done more to create improvement for more humanity over a longer period of time than any other model that's yet been created. Now, if this backlash proves contagious, I believe, and other advanced nations lose faith in capitalism's ability to improve the lives of ordinary people, then the rich world's efforts to protect its citizens from economic change will doom the developing world to dollar-a-day poverty. Now, the good news there are ways to avert these dark scenarios and to flourish. The trouble is we're not doing what we need to do because of what I call the tyranny of dead ideas. Now, by this I mean the tacit assumptions and ingrained instincts that are broadly shared by business executives, professionals, policymakers, media observers, maybe even a few of us in this room, regarding the way a wealthy advanced economy like the United States should work. Now, while current thinking about the American economy is hardly monolithic, the folks who occupy a lot of influential positions hold certain key premises. They believe that our children will earn more than we do, that free trade is good, in quotes, no matter how many people it hurts, that employers should play a central role in the provision of health coverage, that taxes hurt the economy and they're always too high, that local control and funding of schools is essential, and that people tend to end up in economic terms where they deserve to. Now, these are ideas that have percolated through the culture for decades. They've become second nature to many of us. They determine which paths we consider, which large questions we view as settled, which possibilities we allow ourselves to imagine. And therein, in my view, lies the problem. From the halls of government to the executive suite, from the corner store to the factory floor, Americans are in the grip of a set of ideas that are not only dubious or dead wrong, they're on a collision course with social and economic developments that are now irreversible. As these new realities crash against what people believe, there's a strange intellectual chasm that's being revealed. It's not just ordinary people who are disoriented. This is even the people who are running the economy themselves are lost, at least to judge by the kind of weird reasoning that we're seeing on display from a lot of them. Consider a few examples. CEOs routinely bemoan how skyrocketing health costs are killing their business, especially when they're in competition with firms abroad where governments end up picking more of the tab. Yet in the next breath, most executives say that America's government should not play a bigger role in bearing this burden. Well, I ask, who else do they think is available? That's example one. Second, politicians and business leaders say we should cut taxes for most, some would say all Americans, in order to boost the economy. Yet America's already got about $40 trillion of unfunded promises in Social Security and Medicare and related programs, and that's before we toss in a whole bunch of good ideas that are on the books to insure the uninsured, develop clean energy, rebuild roads and bridges, extend preschool, and more. Has anyone noticed that these numbers don't come remotely close to adding up? Next, everyone agrees that education is the key to rising living standards in this global economy where our kids are going to be competing with kids from China and India, and we need to lift all children, not just the most talented, to higher levels of achievement. Yet in the 2008 presidential campaign, not a single candidate from either party questioned the shockingly unjust system of school finance that we have in the United States, which dooms schools in poor neighborhoods in ways that no other advanced nation tolerates. How are 10 million poor children in America supposed to compete? Last example. Top economists in both political parties routinely tell us that free trade is good for the country, quote, good for the country, because the benefits to some Americans outweigh the losses suffered by other Americans. But wait, who put economists in charge of weighing the interests of one set of Americans against another? Now, as puzzles like these ricochet across boardrooms, union offices, town hall meetings, and kitchen tables, I think the questions ask themselves. Why are business leaders afraid or unwilling to say that we need government to play a bigger role in healthcare? How can top officials call constantly for tax cuts when trillions in unpaid bills are coming due? Why do politicians pledge to leave no child behind while they oversee public school systems that systematically assign the least qualified teachers in the most run-down facilities to the kids who need great schools the most? And finally, why do trades losers only get lip service, even from elected officials who think that workers today are getting the shaft? I think the best explanation isn't cynicism, selfishness, or indifference, nor is it really an inability to perceive and act in one's long-term self-interest. I think the deeper ailment afflicting today's confused capitalist is intellectual inertia.